Guys, I'm really excited. This is a very special episode of Dude, I Love or Hate My New Ride. The Ram heavy duty truck you see behind me has a manual transmission. Over the last several years, I have not had a chance to drive one of these, and I do today. And I have Connor here, the owner of this truck, to tell me all about it. It also has a tuner on it and a couple of other surprises. Connor, show me around this truck. All right, so tell me, how long have you had this truck?
Got it last October, so probably, I guess, just a little over 5 months now.
Alrighty, so was it all stock when you found it?
Yeah, found it. It was up in Washington State. I actually flew up there. It was all stock, 24,000 miles. Got a decent deal on it and picked it up, drove it back, and that's when the fun began.
Nice. So where do we start? Should we pop the hood or?
Yeah, I mean, we could pop the hood. I could just kind of talk over stuff as we look at it.
All right, let's pop the hood because It's about the Cummins, right?
Yeah, it sure enough is. That's right.
Do you guys love trucks? If so, we've got a new podcast that will keep you entertained for hours, from on-road to off-road, from Raptors to Frontiers to Tacomas. Check out tfltruck.com/podcast or go to wherever you get your favorite podcast, including Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Spotify.
Well, from first, like naked eye look, it looks kind of normal.
Yeah, it looks pretty normal.
All right, so what's going on under here?
So, first things I did, basically threw a brand new clutch in it.
Okay.
It's a South Bend dual disc 3250 GK. It's an organic ceramic clutch.
Okay.
That was then the first supporting mod for the other ones that I started doing. It has the EGR and DPF deleted, which is a much more efficient thing for these motors.
Okay.
And then it's got a tuner, just a flash-in tune from a guy up in Canada. His name's Matt with Optimal Welding.
Okay.
He did a phenomenal job building the tunes for this truck. He does all of his testing up in the Rocky Mountains up in Canada.
Okay.
So it's really, really well played for the elevation. And numbers-wise, I mean, it's somewhere 500, just over 500 plus wheel. And yeah, I mean, it's 4 different positions. I have fuel economy, I have towing, I have the higher end tunes. But yeah, I mean, it's just well thought out, well figured out. I mean, and it makes it a dream to drive compared to what it was when I brought it home.
Guys, how cool is this? A proper manual transmission. And you feel like you're in a semi-truck, you're sitting up high, and actually, you know what? The clutch feeling is pretty nice and easy. Connor tells me the clutch feels about like factory would, but the engagement is very positive. And of course, extra power from the Cummins here with a tune. It's pretty massive. So I mean, the transmission is really smooth. I mean,
Yeah, it is.
I think more heavy-duty trucks should be this way.
Right.
But of course, they're all going to 10 speeds and you know, all that stuff. And the thing about the heavy-duty truck that we always talk about is you want to be in control, right?
Right.
Like you want to know exactly what gear I'm in. I know I'm in third right now.
Right.
I know that the exhaust brake is on. And there it is.
There it is, and that is just the beauty of these things.
Yeah,
It is.
it's a Cummins thing.
And it really, you feel the pull, you know,
Uh-huh.
and what's great about, especially living in the mountains, is I never use my brakes. So my braking system is just saved all the time by the exhaust brake.
Yeah.
So it's actually great. You know, I don't have to tear these wheels off and do brakes very often, especially if I do tow a lot and stuff. But luckily I have a work truck for that, so.
Nice. What's going on this side? This does not look stock, right?
Yeah,
here.
so on top of this is the intake valve for the EGR. That's what allows the gases to then flow back into the intake.
Okay.
Here's the throttle valve. This is like a butterfly valve that functions. And now that is gone. The EGR valve is gone, and then on the other side, the entire EGR cooler is gone as well, including the entire exhaust, which is a 4-inch all the way back with a muffler, so it's not, you know,
Not super loud.
not earth rattling, but it
Okay.
definitely gives a nice tone to it.
you removed the emissions on this truck. So how does that work with registration?
So since I do not live in Boulder County, or a county that technically enforces it or screens it, it's perfectly legal up until the EPA decides that they want to change that, I guess. But,
sure, or it's county by county.
County
right?
by county,
right.
Exactly. So luckily, where I live in Weld County doesn't force me to do so.
Okay, nice.
So that's kind of the perks of it, and plus too, I mean, if you start doing some of the research about what the emissions system can put back into your intake, and actually this with only 30,000 miles when I recently just did the EGR delete, my intake was full of soot and oil.
Okay.
And that is just like, why would you want that going on the intake side of your engine? It's terrible, just terrible forms. But
and it idles just, I mean, there's no smoke whatsoever.
no, and it's a super clean tune. Honestly, this guy Matt up in Canada that did my tune is just, he's an extremely talented guy and just phenomenal with the tunes. Very clean, very safe, and that was just my utmost concern. What another cool feature about his tunes in particular, he turns all the settings so I can now keep the exhaust brake functional up to about 9 miles an hour as I downshift, whereas the stock will shut it off at about 20 miles an hour.
Okay.
And yeah, being able to keep the exhaust brake on through the key cycle, that's a super cool feature.
So in the engine, I mean, internals are stock. I mean, all that.
All
is
stock
stuff.
internals.
And the turbo.
Turbos, the same VGT turbo that it comes with. I mean, what's really great about just these newer engines is you can literally just maximize the factory setup, injectors, you know, basically just everything down to a T. You can control duration and all that type of stuff, and really just get the max power out of the truck. And it's still very safe. Rail pressures and everything are still very, very well within reason, and it makes it just an absolute blast to drive.
So when Ram had this transmission, so they offered 3 different transmissions, right? 3 different engine tunes, actually.
Yeah.
So they kind of had the lowest horsepower, lowest torque on this manual transmission, which is what you have, obviously modified clutch.
Right.
And then they had the standard diesel, 6-speed.
Yep.
And then they had
the Ison,
the Ison transmission with a high output. So now you kind of have a high output, but also a manual.
Also stick, yeah. And actually it was crazy. So the truck had just under 30,000 miles, and my stock clutch was already slipping.
Really?
Under stock power.
Really? Okay.
They run a dual mass flywheel, and it's just not the most ideal setup, especially if you are going to put power to it. So that was the first thing that had to go. And then, yeah, I mean, now it's just the newer trucks like they are, and just having that 6-speed feeling with all the bells and whistles, heated cooled seats and a sunroof, and you know, it is the ultimate package for you know, driving a truck that's this capable.
Alrighty, well, let's turn our attention to the suspension a little bit. Let's close this for now. So the truck looks level to me. Is this a leveling kit?
Yeah, so it's just got a normal level up front. Basically, you know, just gives it that nice leveled feeling too. I always hate the rake on all the trucks that comes factory. But yeah, just leveled, and then that was able to give me a little bit more room to clear the Toyo 35s, which is a real nice setup.
And these are MTs, mud terrains?
Yep, MTs.
Have you run other tires before, or is this your favorite?
I've had a couple different sets of all-terrains, the KO2s on different trucks and stuff. I just really like the look of a mud terrain tire, and I mean, as far as wearability goes, these things last pretty long. Especially, I mean, and they are good for Colorado camping, that type of stuff to really, you know.
What about the noise on the highway? Are they fairly quiet?
I mean, actually, the craziest thing to me about these newer trucks is just they did such a great job with the sound dampening. I mean, with the windows up, it is just like it's a Cadillac, you know. That's what it feels like. And yeah, I mean, there definitely is a little bit of noise, but in my level, especially coming from older versions of these trucks, it's a dream. Yeah,
it's nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Where did you find these mud flaps?
Those are actually factory. So this truck in particular, it is the off-road package. It was a lot of add-on options from the factory. It's got the cold weather, the off-road, the sunroof, just a bunch of other little knick-knack things that the gentleman who originally bought it added to it from the factory. So
and it's a Laramie?
Yeah, full Laramie. It's got the big display, heated cooled seats, you know, all the nav. It's got all the nice features, leather. Nice. So yeah.
Well, let's take a look at the back really quick. I mean, I see your aftermarket exhaust.
Yep. Full Flow Pro 4-inch back.
Okay.
With their muffler on it, which is nice because it gives it a little bit of a, Yeah, I can start it up in the morning and not wake my entire neighborhood up. So that's a major plus.
Yeah. So what do you think about the suspension? I mean, this is coils in the back and the front.
Yeah, my older trucks were all leaf sprung. Obviously, my O2 that I had was the heavy duty, the high output, and that thing was pretty. I mean, it is rigid. It is a full size truck, but honestly, I mean, they do a great job nowadays. And what's cool about these Toyos is you actually run only 65 psi, even though it's still a load range E. From the factory, they're recommended to be 80.
Yeah.
And so that, you know, it's a little bit softer in the rear.
So it's planted.
So it's
well.
planted, and you're not getting jarred as much as you would be if you'd be on a normal load range E tire.
Have you towed with this much?
Just a little messing around. So I've towed a dump trailer through work and stuff a little bit, but I mean it's pretty manageable. Like I said, I've been in a bunch of these and hooked a lot of weight to them, and they'll just handle whatever you throw at them. So yeah.
Right. But this is not your work truck. I mean,
no,
it's kind of a
this
personal truck,
this is like my personal. I got dirt bikes, throw those in the back. So that was another thing I did. I got the bed lined as soon as I got it.
All right, let's look at that.
You know, kind of crucial to. I know I'm gonna abuse it for sure in the years to come. This was my forever truck, you know, the one that I'm going to buy and hang on to hopefully for the next 20, 30 years at least.
So you want it nice.
Yeah, and I wanted it to be everything that I wanted it to, you know, and that's why it took me quite a while to find it and even longer to drive it back, but.
Nice. So tell me about the switch. Is this, what's going on there?
So that is my tunability switch. So everywhere from 1 to 4, there's 4 different tunes.
Right here.
First one is a 20 horsepower optimized stock tune, which is pretty great for fuel economy. The second tune is 75 for towing. Third tune is 120 plus street tune, and then the fourth tune is the hot tune, they call it. It's like 180 horsepower.
Overstock, yeah.
Overstock.
So what's the torque at, do you think?
Torque?
I mean, maximum, I guess.
Within reason. I mean, I think it's pretty close to probably 1200 at the high end, you know, depending upon how much your foot is in it, but it really feels like it when you drive it, that's for sure.
Actually, it's also a 6-person configuration, isn't it?
Yeah, it does. So that was another option that the gentleman that originally got it was with that bench seat in there.
What do these trucks go for these days as far as price?
I mean, they're kind of all over the map. I was, this one was about 47. But it was 24,000 miles. It was one of the ones that had the lowest amount of miles, and that was really what I was focused on.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, they can go pretty decent for, you know, they're anywhere up to 50. I've seen them go for 52. You know, they're a lot of money, but just because of how rare they are in particular.
Yeah, so Ram discontinued the manual transmission when they switched over to the 5th gen. 19 models, right?
Right.
So this is the 2017.
So it's the second to last year, yeah.
But 30,000 miles. This truck is basically brand new.
Exactly.
I mean, this diesel doesn't even. It's not even broken in.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So I mean, usually we talk about kind of like a dealership experience, but I mean, this is not quite about that, right? I mean, you looked online, right?
Yeah.
Specifically for this.
I think it was Auto Trader, maybe, is what I originally found it on. And then, yeah, it was a small third-party dealership. It still had factory warranty and stuff, but it was, you know, just one of those whim things where it was up, it was posted for like 2 days. I called, put a deposit on it, and flew out there, sight unseen. Just was like, I know this is going to be the one type thing. So yeah.
And you like the color? I mean, you like all of it?
I love this gray color. My 2002 was the exact same.
Kind of like gunmetal?
Yeah,
or is that what it's called?
It was the exact same color. So it was even more of that like reassuring. This is a sign. This is the one I want type thing because it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
And stock wheels, right? That's how it
stock
came.
wheels. I mean, I kind of like this idea of an optimized stock look. You know, it really kind of embraces.
Kind of stealthy. I mean.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with a little bit more power under the hood, it makes it that ultimate. Like you're not screaming that you're driving a big loud diesel truck. It looks good, feels good, and it's just ultimately the best of all worlds.
Very nice. What do you think about these mirrors?
I love the mirrors. I've never flipped them up. I've towed a lot of things, and I've never.
Bro mode yet?
Yeah, no moose power.
Okay.
No, I mean they are great for towing, especially if you are towing something big. I have used them in the past in some of the older rigs that I've towed.
Yeah, I mean they've had this style for many years. Very nice, dude. Well, thanks for coming out and sharing
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Happy to show you guys.
Nice. And guys, of course, we appreciate your comments. I know you're commenting and saying, why don't you talk to a guy who hates this truck? Well, that's for another episode. Guys, and go back to tfltruck.com for more news, views, and real-world truck reviews, especially cool manual transmission, heavy-duty trucks like this.